What is up, everybody, and welcome back to your Average Joe Sports Network. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and I'm sorry for my absence, but as you know, I'm in the middle of moving. However, Florida didn't turn quite as planned. It's more of delayed for right now. I'm living in West Virginia right now until the details are sorted in Florida, but it will happen eventually. But I'm trying to continue to make videos, and if you know from the slideshow that I just showed right here, I took a little road trip to St. Louis and Nashville. In fact, the food you saw me eat was from Pancake Pantry in Nashville. The reason I knew where to go there is because I grew up watching Man vs. Food with Adam Richman, so I thought that was pretty fun and stuff. But nonetheless, it's been way too long. Let's get right into this segment of draft needs. We are finishing off the AFC conference, and so we're going to finish off with the AFC South. And let's get into Houston because it is pretty much abandoned ship right now. You talk about it all went downhill when they drafted when they traded away DeAndre Hopkins, and then all of a sudden the tension between Deshawn Watson and Bill O'Brien, which obviously they could have been stirring for a while there, but it really got up to the surface in 2020. And then Bill O'Brien got fired, and then J.J. Watt asked to be released. He's now in Arizona, and obviously the biggest headline, Deshawn Watson, who for months was a talk of, where he's going to be traded, if he's just going to let him be traded, is now going under a lawsuit right now. And so no one could really get Deshaun Watson anyway, and Houston can't play him pretty much right now until things are situated. And so Houston's pretty much trying to go through 2021 alive right now. And so they're just trying to make the best of it, and the draft doesn't help much though. They don't have a first or a second round pick, so you got to think the selections, the quality of players that will be available may be slim, and it might be tough for me, but I got to do my best here. And so there's an offensive line that I feel like they could take, because when you look at Deshaun Watson, since 2018, he's been sacked 155 times. That's more than anyone else in the NFL. And they've been trying to get the offensive line better. They were lucky to get Laramie Tunsil in a trade with Miami. And like I said, when you're in the third round, you don't know what offensive line you're going to get at that point. But hopefully this young man's available. And his name is Trey Smith, offensive guard from Tennessee. First team All-SEC. He's 6'6", 330 pounds. He's a big young man. And what I like about this young man is his off-the-field stuff. Now, why would that matter? Well, Houston, remember the city of Houston went through natural disasters a few years ago. And Houston Texans were one of the teams, one of the organizations that stepped up to be part of the relief effort. You saw J.J. Watt handing out free meals to people. And so when I look at this young man, he's won several awards for not only for his on the field stuff, but what he does off the field. Things for courage and sportsmanship, and pretty much a commitment to the community. And one of the awards he won was the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year. And so this guy is well renowned for his character. And so when you're talking about the state of Houston right now, when they don't know who to trust, they feel like they need a sense of stability. And so I feel like you can get an offensive lineman that gives whoever's at quarterback, whether it's Tyler Taylor, whoever, and not only that, but it gives you a sense of hey, we got some guys that are here to stay and are ready to become part of the Houston community. And so what if they go to the defensive side? Again, I know it's some pickings, but the good thing about the NFL draft is that there's players that we highly value that end up sliding, and then there's players that we didn't really consider to be top quality that somehow end up maybe in the first round. And so hopefully there's particularly a pass rusher that maybe it could end up sliding, because to me, I feel like the last few years, obviously it's been wide receiver crazy, but also offensive line has been crazy in the first round. So I feel like as some of those positions are highly coveted in the first rounds, some of these defensive positions could end up sliding into later rounds, including round 3. And I'm hoping this guy's available because he's really good. I feel like he can really help the team out, especially with the loss of J.J. Watt. Joseph Osai, linebacker from Texas, one of the best pass rushers in the Big 12. He is very good. He's what I call a technician. Knows how to get the leverage. Knows where to get the angle on him, and he just knows how to get to the ball carrier. And the reason that guys like this may end up sliding, is because they don't have the raw explosiveness. We want to see guys like Chase Young, or years ago we had Myles Garrett, the raw explosiveness. But for all those players like that, it all starts with the foundation of the technique, And so this guy's got the technique. A lot of people still have him as a top 5 pass rusher in this draft. He just may end up sliding for whatever reason, and hopefully it's for the Texans' gain. And so let's go to Indianapolis to talk about the Colts, who had just traded to possibly get their quarterback of the future, Carson Wentz, from Philadelphia. And, Colin Cowherd said on his Fox Sports radio show that this pretty much makes him a Super Bowl contender. You talk about Jonathan Taylor, who to me was the best running back of the draft, slid to the second round. And you talk about Michael Pittman Jr., they signed back T.Y. Hilton. Hopefully Paris Campbell can stay healthy for 1 year. Because I feel like he can be successful if he just stays healthy. But it all starts when you have protection on offensive line. They have Quinn Nelson right there, but they could use a left tackle. And speaking of Quinn Nelson, there's a guy from his alma mater that I feel like could fit that need. Liam Eichenberg, offensive tackle from Notre Dame. This guy is first-team All-American. And if you guys are looking at this draft, you're going to see a lot of Notre Dame offensive linemen coming off the board. Why? Because they're pretty much the reason for the success that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish have had the last few years. Pretty much the reason they've barely lost any game leading up to the playoffs has been because of the offensive line. A lot of Ian Book's success, which I don't know where he's going to end up drafted, if any, in the draft, is because of that offensive line. And Liam Eichenberg is the leader, I believe, of that offensive line. And I feel like he's a guy that a lot of people don't see him going in the first round. But I feel like, when you talk about the drop of maybe Jalen Mayfield from Michigan, I feel like this could be his game and maybe slipping into the first round. But let's say they go defensive side. And you know what? They've been doing really good at building the defense. Honestly, the Colts are today's version of the no-name defense, referencing to the Miami's defense in the 70s back when they went undefeated and so on and so forth. So there's a guy that I feel like can benefit the back end, particularly at the safety position, because it's been a while since they've had a hard-hitting safety. Long has it been the days of Antoine Bethea, and even back even further with Bob Sanders from Iowa. So I feel like they definitely need a playmaker at the safety position, and his name is Talanoa Hufanga, safety from USC. And obviously, when you look at his film, you obviously associate with Troy Polamalu. Another name would be Charles Woodson, is because this guy is a Swiss Army knife. This guy can play 10 yards back in the zone and safety. He can play in the middle of the field like a linebacker, and he can also play at the line of scrimmage, on a blitz. And probably the reason he slides down to the third, fourth round is because of past injuries. He's broken some bones. And so there's a lot of players that, that will slide maybe even to day 3. I hope that doesn't happen with Talanoa, because he's too good of a talent to slip that far. But I think because of how good he is, maybe eventually he could end up, becoming a star player. I think of Jalen Smith. A lot of people could have passed on Jalen Smith, but the Cowboys took a chance on him in the second round, and obviously is their star linebacker in Dallas. I think the same case could be with Talanoa. If the Colts take a chance on him, if he stays healthy at the next level, could end up being a huge difference maker. And so let's go to Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who hold the number 1 overall pick. And, they got Urban Meyer, the head coach, formerly of the Ohio State Buccaneers, and also further back to the Florida Gators. And obviously this guy has had a reputation of taking teams and pretty much making them to championship teams. And so there's a lot of high hopes for Jacksonville under Urban Meyer. And it starts at number 1. It seems tedious right now because, it seems to be unanimous who the number 1 overall pick is going to be. But nonetheless, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson. This guy's combination of, he's a pocket passer, but he's also athletic enough to run. And it's hard to find a comparison for him because of how good he is. It's almost unreal. So because of how unreal he is, I almost have to think back to the movie Remember the Titans. Remember, one of the storylines was a quarterback from California with long, luscious hair that came in to play quarterback, started out as a backup, but then once injuries took place, took over and never looked back. Again, same kid with a strong arm, athletic ability, with toughness, and his nickname for them, remember that, was Sunshine. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Trevor Lawrence is going to end up with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville in the Sunshine State of Florida. And I feel like the combination of Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer, we're going to see how that happens. Obviously, the spread will obviously be in place. Hopefully they can put the right weapons around Trevor Lawrence, and we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully they'll maybe use the second pick in the first round to maybe give him a weapon or something like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win defense, and so I think they could go defense right there. It would be really tempting to go for a wide receiver right here. But nonetheless, when I look at that defense, there's a lot that needs to be done about that defense. And so I look at the linebacker position. Outside of Miles Jack, they really got nobody at the linebacker position. And so there's a linebacker that I feel like if Urban Meyer was still at Ohio State, by the time this kid was going into college, I think he would have been an ideal Ohio State Buckeye linebacker. And his name is Nick Bolton, linebacker from Missouri. Man, a guy that can run from sideline to sideline and run in those gaps with explosiveness. This guy is an all-out beast. Part of me thinks of Dante Hightower that came out of Alabama, has played for New England for years. And I feel like this guy can really, pack a punch and really bring that tenacity back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talking about when they were adding playmakers like Jalen Ramsey, when they had guys like Dante Fowler and stuff. They were trying to bring that toughness to the defense and stuff. Obviously, players have been gone. Jalen Ramsey's gone. Calais Campbell is gone. That was short-lived and stuff. But I feel like if they want to bring that tenacity back into the Jacksonville defense, then it starts at the linebacker position with Nick Bolton. And so let's finish off with the Tennessee Titans. And to me, despite what happened last year, I feel like the Tennessee Titans are still the favorite to win the AFC South. Despite all that's going on right there, you still got Derrick Henry, the best running back in the league, and Ryan Tannehill, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Both those players, we were waiting for those careers to get jump-started. They both got jump-started in Tennessee. And so, hopefully they can can move forward and not take a step back. The concern is, like I said, the fact that they went to the playoffs only to lose to Baltimore. You're hoping that this isn't the end, and you're hoping that they can get back to the playoffs and get back to contention for the Super Bowl. And so I feel like that starts at the wide receiver position. Corey Davis is now with the Jets. Jonnu Smith, the tight end, is now in New England. And so obviously I know they're a run-first team, but I feel like if a team can make the Titans one-dimensional, which teams have, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year. We talk about what the Baltimore Ravens did to the Titans in the wildcard game. If you can make them one-dimensional, that means Ryan Tannehill has to have weapons to throw to. Corey Davis was not healthy in that game, so there was a limited amount of options. So you need to get some wide receivers in there. And so this guy may not be a first-round pick, but when I look at the receivers they've drafted in years, they guys have had production, and these guys have also been the leaders of their offense. And so this guy was the leader of his team and was productive for many years. And this guy's name is Kylelon Wallace, wide receiver from Oklahoma State. I mean, coming from a West Coast offense in Oklahoma State, this guy, if you throw it deep, he can win those one-on-one coverages. He's also very physical. Part of me almost reminds me of Hines Ward. You don't see a lot of physical wide receivers. Obviously, you need to be physical to make those physical catches. But then also, when you talk about yards after the catch, when you talk about if you can't beat him with speed, you got to punch him in the mouth and stiff arm him to the ground. I feel like Kylelon Wallace is that kind of wide receiver that, like I said, he can make a physical catch. He can win those one-on-one catches. But if he can't beat you with his speed, he can beat you with his fists. And so I feel like Kylelon Wallace, with his production that he's had at Oklahoma State, he won the Thurman Thomas Award, which pretty much meant he was the most outstanding offensive player. So I feel like this guy could be a tremendous addition to that Tennessee Titans offense. But obviously, with Kylelon Wallace, it could end up being a day 2 thing. So I think the defense is where they can go in the first round. They have no one at nose tackle, but then yet again, there's not a lot of talent that I feel like is worthy of the first round pick. And so there's a lot of slim pickings. I feel like, it could end up being day 2, with, second or third round right there. I just don't feel like there's a nose tackle, that they can draft in the first round that's worthy of it. So I feel like if you can't get that nose tackle, then I feel like the next thing would be cornerback. Because like I said, when you talk about that Baltimore Ravens game, they were able to beat you with their speed with Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown. And so I feel like there's a quarterback that I feel like can really help this team out when it comes to that man-on-man coverage. And that is Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback from Florida. And man, this guy, he plays so much similar to his dad when it comes to his anticipation, when it comes to reading the play and making a play on the ball. I mean, this guy, has made so many picks and stuff. And cornerback like this, despite how small he is, isn't afraid to get physical. And so when you talk about Tennessee, when you talk about Mike Vrabel, who used to be with the Patriots, who used to play with Asante Samuel, I think when I see his son at that pick right there, I think that's a very tempting offer to have. And like I said, a lot of his corners really haven't had that speed, but I feel like Asante Samuel gives you that speed. And not to mention, I feel like a lot of those balls could go in their favor, with Asante Samuel. So that finishes off the AFC. We're going to be soon talking about the NFC, which means we're going to start in the North. We're going to talk about my Packers. We're going to talk about the Vikings. Can they get that defense back to the way it was a few years ago? Are the Lions going to continue with Jared Goff? Are they going to go in a different direction? And the Bears, are they truly settled on Andy Dalton? Or are they just waiting to make a move on draft day? I will see you next time, guys. This has been your Avid Show Sports Network, and have a good day, everybody.